Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday today. So the markets were down today. Bitcoin and Ethereum were actually up a little bit. So we're going to take a look at what's going on in the markets along with the miners. The miners were a little bit mixed today as well. And we had a couple stories to cover as well. So we have Hut 8 provides an update on North Bay facility. They're amending their lawsuit against Validus. So we'll get into that. We'll also take a look at an update for Stonegate Capital Partners. They're updating their coverage on Hive. We'll take a look at their numbers and then the numbers that I have on them as well. And then we'll also take a look at some Bitcoin charts and miner charts from prior to the last halving event, after the halving event. How did the miners do before the halving event, and how did they do after the halving event? So we'll take a look at all those charts as to why possibly I'm thinking the miners may go down this year into the halving and then possibly go up after the halving. But we'll take a look at all that, okay? So as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. I'm invested in coins and companies for full disclosure. And let's take a look at what we got going on in the markets today. So the S&P was actually down today 0.16% to 3,971. Dow Jones was also down a little bit today, 0.12% to 32,394. And the NASDAQ was down 0.49% to 12,610. Bitcoin, on the other hand, and Ethereum were up a little bit today. We're looking at the daily chart right now. Bitcoin was up 0.48%, so it was up $131 of the day. It closed at 27,274. We had a low today of 26,640 and a high of 27,519. Now, the RSI is still looking pretty good on Bitcoin as far as the daily chart is concerned. It's at 60 right now. Last time we were at 60, was back here. Price at that point was at around 24,342. So we're still up approximately $3,000 in value on Bitcoin with the RSI being at the same spot. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we can see that the RSI did come up here a little bit to 47. Last time we were around this range was back here. Price at that point was a little bit higher than Bitcoin is right now. So we are seeing a little bit of a reversal trend happening here where that's happening on the 4-hour chart and on the 1-hour chart as well. So on the RSI for the 1-hour chart right now is at 54. Last time we were back here was back here. Price at that point was also higher on the 1-hour chart. So we are seeing a downward trend on the 1-hour chart and 4-hour chart as well. Let's see if that's going to turn into the daily chart as well. So my thoughts on it is Bitcoin is possibly going to go down, possibly test our 200-day moving average, which is right here, the red line. And that's at right now at approximately 25,580. So that would be approximately $2,000 decrease from that, where we might battle it, test it, and then possibly bounce up further going forward. But we'll see how that's going to play out. If we get some FUD or anything like that, that will definitely take it down. Now, Ethereum was up today quite nicely today. It was up 3.34% on the day. It was up $57 to 1,773, a low of 1,701 and a high of 1,795. It is up a little bit right now in the new day as well. And it's acting a little bit like Bitcoin is right now. The RSI has come down a little bit here to 56. Last time was over here. Price was a little bit lower at that point. Price is higher now on the daily chart as well. But it is getting kind of scrunched a little bit, and we'll see if that gets changed over and we get a different direction going forward on Ethereum. So we'll keep an eye on it, okay? Next is going to be the miners. So ANY was down 3.77% today to a close of 32 cents. Argo was down 0.66% to $1.50. BitDigital was up 2.26% to $1.36. Bitfarms was up just slightly today, 0.11% to 89 cents. Cypher was up 0.53% to $1.90. CleanSpark was down 2.91% to $2.51. Cores was down 0.43% to 28 cents. DigiHost was down up today 0.69% to $1.45. DMG was down 0.81% to 22 cents. Greenidge was up 1.36% to 38 cents. Why did that do that? Let's see here, Greenidge. Next one is going to be Hive. Why? Well, something's acting up here. So Hive was actually flat today at $2.91. Hut was down 1.83% to $1.61. Iris Energy was up today 1.84% to $2.77. Marathon was up 1.27% to $7.20. Mawson was up 1.33% to $3.05. Riot was up 0.87% to $8.11. Soluna was down 5.96% to 26 cents. Stronghold was down 0.68% to 58 cents. And TerraWolf was up 0.18% to 75 cents on the day. Okay, so those are all the miners. Like I said, it was a mixed day for those guys. If we refresh the hash rate here, see what's going on at 7-day average. Oh, well, we picked a new high again, 350 million terahashes per second on it. That's on the 7-day average. If we look at the 1-day chart, we can see here that it has come down here a little bit more to 312 million now So that's kind of good, but it's also trending in the upward direction. So we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, so that's it for the miners, the stock market, and Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's get into our stories here, which is going to be on, the first one we're going to do is Hut 8. So we'll talk about this really quick. So Hut 8 provides update on North Bay facility. And here's the news on it. So Hut 8 announces that it has served and filed an amendment statement of claim in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice against Validus Power Corp and its subsidiary Bay Power Corp, a third-party supplier of energy to the company's mining facility in North Bay, Ontario. And here's what they amended. So the amendment claim relates to the company's ongoing and previously disclosed dispute with Validus in respect of Validus's failure to meet its contractual obligations under the power purchase agreement entered in with the company. And then in addition to the claims set out in the original statement of claim, the amended claim, among other things, adds claims involving the associated lease between the company and Validus at the company's mining facility in North Bay, Ontario, to include a claim for unlawful termination by Validus of the aforementioned lease. I'm not sure what the lease is about. I don't know if they're leasing the building or they're leasing the power units there, the electrical components, whatever it might be. They didn't specify it in here. It would be kind of nice to know what they are actually talking about as far as what's being leased. But nonetheless, this is just another thing that's being added on to the lawsuit, I think, and it is going to take additional time to get this resolved. So we've been in since December. So we got December, January, February. We're in March right now, almost over with March. So we got 4 months already where they haven't been mining at that facility. That equates to, I think I calculated it at the time, was about $1 million in lost revenue for them, basically, from that one facility itself. So you have $4 million in the hole right now already. They need to do something about this. They need to get another facility, get another power contract with somebody else, get those miners moved over as fast as possible because they are losing money on it. And I don't know how this is going to work out, if they're going to be able to recoup their losses in the claims court. Okay, we'll see how this is all going to play out. This is going to take a while for them to get this all resolved. It could drag on for months, years possibly. So the best thing to do is cut your losses, go to court, battle it, but move the miners and get them plugged in as fast as you can, because we are getting closer to the halving event. We're only a year away. And after that, you can be mining half the coins. So it's imperative that they get the miners installed and running as fast as they can, I think. Okay, so that's it on that one. Let me know what you guys think of it, and let's get into the next one. So the next one is going to be on Stonegate Capital Partners updates coverage on Hive blockchain. They provided a PDF. They didn't provide it in here as far as what their price targets are for Hive, but we will take a look at their numbers here. So they're going off some numbers here that are estimates, and we'll take a look at the numbers here really quick as well. One thing that they kind of have this, I thought was kind of funny actually, was the industry that they're in, application software. Not really. They should have a new industry called Bitcoin mining, but they don't have it as that, so they put it under application software. And here's what we got for them. Price right now is about $3.11. 52-week range was $1.35 to $10.65, so that's fine. Daily volume was 503,000 shares. Market cap 260. Enterprise value was 283 million. Shares outstanding 83.4. Float was 83.4. Public ownership was 83.6 and 16% roughly by institutions. Cash, we went through all these numbers before with them, but here's kind of what they're going by as far as 2022 numbers. They're looking at 2023 estimates numbers. They're saying that their Hive is potentially going to make about 110.3 million here in 2023. One thing I think they're not taking into account for this is Bitcoin possibly going up higher a little bit this year. I don't think it's going to get to new all-time highs potentially, but I could be wrong. I'm thinking Bitcoin's probably going to get to, by the end of the year, maybe around 40,000, somewhere around there. That's kind of my estimate, best guess estimate, you could say. And they're not taking that into account. And then also the following year, they're saying that they're going to be generating a heck of a lot less in 2024. And this is their estimate of 96.8 million, which is a decrease of 12% from 2023 estimate, which is also a decrease of 48%. So a little bit, I think a little bit flawed here as far as their approaches, because they're not taking into account after the halving event, Bitcoin usually starts going up when that happens. And we tend to reach new all-time highs within 12 to 16 to 18 months or something like that after the halving event. So they're not taking that into account, I think, as well, which I think at that point, even though they're going to produce half of what they produce, but if Bitcoin at least gets to 50,000 by halving event, they're pretty much going to be where they are right now, which would be about 110. But if Bitcoin starts going up towards 60, 70, 80,000, I think that's going to improve as well. So I would have them probably closer to maybe 150 million in 2024, if not a little bit more, depending on how they grow also. and also depending on where the network hash rate is at. So there's a lot of variables that go into this as well. Okay, but here's what they got them as far as priced down here. So based on valuation, we are valuing the company based on our 2023 estimates, which I think are low, like I said. And they're averaging, applying an EV to EBITDA range of 8x to 10x with a midpoint of 9x. Results in the price range would be $3.24 to $4.13 with a midpoint of $3.68. And then if you go by enterprise value and versus revenues, that would be a 2x to 4x with a midpoint of 3x, results in a price range of $2.60 to $3.77 with a midpoint of $3.18. And then if you go by the EV per exahash, applying the EV per exahash range of 150x to 250x with a midpoint of 200x, results in a price range of $3.11 to $5.41 with a midpoint of $4.26. And we'll take a look at the numbers that I have for them, where they kind of end up at. But it's actually a pretty good report here. If you guys are interested in this, I'll put this to my Patreon members. You guys can also find it on Yahoo Finance. So you guys can take a look at it there, but I will provide it to my Patreon members there. So if we look at the numbers that I have for them right here, we can see that I have them at right now, being covered up by my Patreon. So Patreon members get access to all my spreadsheets, and that's only $4 a month. So if you want access to it, it's right there. And the link to that is in the description as well. Okay, so I have them at about 105 million right now in the past 12 months. Right now, they're looking at about 17.1 million for the current quarter that we're in, ending in March. We'll see how this is going to play out, depending on how much they mine in March, but we're going to be pretty close to that. So if Bitcoin goes up a little bit more than that, they could get to about 20, 25 million, which would get them to about 100, 110 million, possibly what they're kind of saying as well. But also depends where Bitcoin goes. So if Bitcoin goes up a little bit higher than that to around 40,000 by the end of the year, they could be generating more. And if they also get more miners installed, that could help offset this as well. So based on this information that we do have here, I'm going based on the previous 4 quarters that we do have numbers in the current quarter that we do have. So last 3 quarters in this quarter, I'm looking at them with a PE of 5 would be about $3.05 to $4.57. And that's 50% net income from gross revenue or 75% net income from gross revenue. And if we use a little bit higher PE, I'm looking possibly that this should be between $6.10 to $9.15 on the very conservative side once Bitcoin starts going up. But here's the big thing. It all depends on where Bitcoin goes, obviously. And if Bitcoin goes up a lot higher, this might go up to a 15 PE. So then we're looking at $9.15 to $13.72 if that's the case. And also, what was I going to point out? There was something else I was going to point out. Just that I think currently they are undervalued based on any of these metrics that we're using at, with the stock price being around $3 something cents. Right now, I haven't updated this. This is like a day or two old. So based on this information, I do think that they are undervalued, like they have stated in their report as well. And that could continue on here through this current year that we're in with Bitcoin until the next halving event, where after that, I think things might pick up. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of all of this. And next, let's take a look at, as far as how the miners could possibly perform this year compared to the numbers from, this year compared to historic. So we only have one historical time frame to go by. This was back in 2019 to 2020 when we had the halving event in May of 2020. We have that 1 year frame where we had a couple miners that were mining during that time frame. And then we can kind of look at what happened after the halving event, and as well look at prior to the halving event, see what happens there. I'm not saying that this is going to repeat, but since we only have one time frame to go by and one historical time frame, if we had multiple historical time frames where we had halving events and the miners were public at the time, we could possibly draw a little bit better conclusion. Right now, it's just a one-time event. We'll see if that continues or if it repeats again this year. I'm not saying it will, but we'll take a look at it nonetheless. Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here. And here is the chart. So the chart is from 2019 of May to 2020 of May as well, when we had the halving event. So if you look at the chart here, you can see that this red line here is of the halving event. This is when it happened. This was on, I think, May 20th, May 19th, somewhere around there when this happened. And you can see here that Bitcoin for a year prior to that has gone up approximately 79, almost 80% here. So this is Bitcoin being up 80% here. On HUT, basically in that time frame for that year frame, 1 year before the halving event to the halving event was basically flat as far as price appreciation. It did go up here a little bit. It bounced over here a little bit. And you can see here that it was basically went up and then started coming back down a little bit as well. during that time frame when Bitcoin actually went up, it went up as well in price, but it came crashing back down when Bitcoin crashed, which I think was right around the pandemic when everything crashed kind of a little bit. The other ones that we have here is Hive along with HUT8. So HUT8, we already talked about. Hive was down 49.82% here, you can see right there. And then you got Riot was down 54.17%, and Bitfarms was down 54.82%. Bitfarms was one of the ones that started or being public on, at least on the NASDAQ. I think this is where I'm pulling the information from. So if they went over to the NASDAQ at that time, they weren't being traded for the full year of that time frame. Looks like they came in probably around right around August, September time frame in 2019. But you can see that their prices also come down. So on average, the miners here came down approximately 50% in 1 year prior to the halving event. So if that happens this time around, we are approximately 1 year out from the halving event as it is. So if the miners go down another 50% until the halving event, which could be because, one, investors are looking forward. So they know that the hash rate is going to, hash rate is going to increase, but also the number of Bitcoins that are being generated each day is going to go from 900 roughly to 450. It's going to halve. And they're looking on that. So they're looking at the revenues for these miners are going to come down. So the potential is there for the miners to possibly go down, I'm guessing here, somewhere around 50% if that happens, but we'll see. 50% would be a pretty bad drop for us if that does happen on the miners, especially some of the miners are already at pennies right now, 20, 30 cents. Some of them are around $1. Some of them are around $3, some around $2. So they would be basically halved from here. We're kind of seeing that right now play out a little bit with the Bitcoin kind of going up, but the miners aren't really doing that well, at least in the last couple of weeks. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind there. If this does happen and plays out this way, this could be a great time to do some DCA, right? Dollar cost averaging into these miners, because once we get past this halving event, which is going to be basically in about a year, right around this time frame in March or April. We don't know exactly when, but we know it's going to be right around there. After that point, you'll see how the miners performed after it. So Bitcoin obviously outperformed the miners here prior to the halving event, being up almost 80%, the miners being down 50%. So that's a big swing between the two. Okay, so let's take a look at how things look after the halving event. So this is the halving event that we have after the halving event, which is back here. This was May 20th, May 19th of 2020. And you can see here that a lot of these have gone up tremendously here in that time frame. So this is a year out from that. So we're going from May 2020 to May 2021 on this chart here. Bitcoin peaked right around, when was it? Right around March, February, around 67,000, right? We had that one giant leg up on Bitcoin. We came down to about 30-some thousand, then we came back up to about the new all-time high, which was 69 in November of 2021. So if we look at the numbers here that we do have for them, for the miners, we can see that Riot was up basically, let's see if we can pull this down, there we go. Riot was up 1,171% from the halving event to a year out, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at. At its peak, it was up almost 3,000% here at one point, which was just outstanding if anybody sold at that time frame. But right at the halving event when it happened, and then a year later, you were up basically 3,000% on Riot. Bitfarms was up 1,055%. They also kind of peaked up here, right around, let me see, Bitfarms peaked up about right here. They were up about 1,500, 1,600% at the peak here, looks like. Hive was up 778% from that time frame, and they peaked right around 1,800% right here. And then we got, the next one was going to be HUT8. At that point, a year out, they were only up 228%. So they definitely didn't do as well as some of the other miners, but they were also not as down as some of the other miners as well, right? They were pretty much flat prior to it, and then after it, they were up 200%. Well, the other miners were down 50% roughly, okay? So this is kind of what we're looking for. This is kind of what we're waiting for. This is kind of what we're planning for, at least I am. Anytime I get a pullback in the markets, pullback in the miners, anything like that, that's the time that I'm going to be dollar cost averaging into it some more, because it's going to take a while, yes. But after that, this is where the rewards come in, at least in my opinion, okay? So this is not financial advice. Do your own research as always, but this is kind of what I'm looking at. Now, if we look at from the halving event to the end of the bull run that we had in Bitcoin, which was right around November, we can see here that, and this is going back a little bit further here because we have the halving event right here, which was right around May, and then we're probably going back to right around February or so on this chart. But you can see here that the miners, for the most part, did a fantastic job. So we're basically out, what is that, 18 months, 16 months from the halving event, roughly. You can see here that Riot at one point was actually up approximately almost 10,000% if you bought before the actual halving event, just a little bit here. And let's see, they were up about 9,500%. At the very end here of the bull run, they were up 4,510%, which was right here. But they were still way up here in all these points. Bitfarms was up 2,914% at the second peak of Bitcoin. But they were, I mean, it almost looks like the same spot here where they were. Hive was up 2,900% as well. They are, so that's Hive, sorry. Hive Bitfarms was actually over here, and it looks like they peaked up closer to over here, somewhere around there. And then you got Hut 8 was up actually 2,805%. So they definitely picked up your steam towards the end as well. And with those types of returns, even if you at least get a 10x, which would be 1,000%, you're still doing really well with these miners. But in the meantime, it is going to be painful, unfortunately, for us until we get to that point. Okay? So that's kind of one of the things I want to point out. Now, as I said, I don't know if this is going to play out the same way as it did before. We only have this one time frame where the miners were basically, we had a couple miners. We have a lot more miners that are public now also. Don't know if that's going to affect it, but we're only looking at a certain time frame of this happening only once here. If we had multiple times where this happened, then we could say more definitively that this is going to happen again, but we only have one occurrence of this. I cannot definitely say this is going to happen again, or if it's going to happen at all, right? It could be totally different this time around for us. Sorry about that. I have to clear my throat. But that's basically what I'm trying to say is this is a one-time occurrence that we have right now in the history books. If we had multiple occurrences, I think we would know better what's going to happen. Right now, this is just a guess that we may possibly fall even more before the halving event goes with the miners. And then after that fact happens, after the halving event, that's when we get the catalyst for possibly going up 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000% on these miners. But they're going to be weighed down. They're going to be beaten down possibly even more. So my plan, dollar cost average into these, I started buying into them last year. I've been dollar cost averaging down pretty much as best I can. And I'm going to continue to do that. You just never know where the bottom is on these miners. So you kind of start buying when things start looking pretty bad. People are fearful. That's when to be greedy. And I'm going to continue to do that, right? So let me know what you guys think of all of this. As always, the spreadsheets are going to be available to my Patreon members. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.